Well, welcome to Greater Dayton Live. I'm Dan Edwards, your host here today, and we have a great topic. This is a topic that I love to talk about. It's the Fisher Nightingale houses, and they are having a big fundraiser coming up August 13th that we want you to know about. It's always a great time, and the person who is kind of in charge of this is with us now, Chris Stanley, who is the executive director. And Chris, great to see you again for Fisher Nightingale houses.
It's great to see you again. It's great to be seen
It's
and
nice.
not viewed.
Indeed. And we want you to put August 13th on your calendar because this is a big deal. And Chris does such a wonderful job of doing this fundraiser. And Chris, share with us a little bit about what this means this year, the theme, and where we're going to be and all that this year.
Well, the event, this is our 18th year. It's always called an All-American Evening, and then we change the sub-theme. And this year our sub-theme is Dayton, History Made Here. You know, we can be our own worst enemy and look, we pay a lot of money to go on vacations and see other things.
Right.
And we don't take in what's in our own backyard. Unless somebody comes to town and says, oh, I want to go see, you know, something down at Carillon Park, or I want to go to the Air Force Museum. The rest of the time we don't do it. But our theme really this year is driven by the fact that Dayton holds the most patents per capita of any city in the entire United States. And of course, everybody knows about the Wright brothers, and they might know about Charles Kettering, but they may not know what the types of inventions he made. But, you know, Al Gore created this thing called the internet, and you can find anything and everything. And if you type in Dayton inventions, a list of more than 100 will pop up. You know, so beyond, of course, the airplane, air conditioning, electric starters for your car, step ladders, pop-top cans, if you like the pop, you know, the pop-top, or the cans, you know, for beer and soda. Just the list goes on and on and on. So we're going to celebrate the history of Dayton. We're holding it down in the Rotunda at the Dayton Arcade. And so that's a new venue for us, and we're excited. It's a gorgeous location.
Well, what better place to have this event and theme it, you know, Dayton History Made Here, when you're right there at the Dayton Arcade, where so much history has been made. And on that, also, Dayton was most recently named one of the top 10 most innovative cities in America. So you're playing right into that theme this year.
Yeah, we are.
That's pretty cool. Well, the Dayton Arcade did a function down there recently, and it is phenomenal. I mean, it would be worth the price of admission just to come down and be a part of this All-American Evening and also check out the Dayton Arcade in a very intimate way. Chris, I know you're not comfortable talking about you, but I have got to tell you, man, you have done such a great job. Now, you have been the executive director for 21 years, but you have been with the Fisher Nightingale mission, if you will, for 28 years.
Yeah,
so congratulations.
I had hair when I started.
But also he served our country in the military. Share us a little bit of your backstory.
I joined the Air Force in October 1977. Some people don't even, you know, if you have to scroll sometimes for pick off dates on the computer.
Exactly
like
what you're
scroll.
Keep going.
But I joined the Air Force right out of high school, and I spent 24 years in the Air Force. I came here to Dayton in 1992. I was stationed at Homestead Air Force Base in south of Miami when Hurricane Andrew destroyed the base. And so I tell people I blew into town. And I don't have any family in Ohio, but did my last 9 years of active duty here, absolutely loved Dayton, and decided this is where, my wife and I decided this is where we wanted to retire.
That's neat. That's great. Well, we're so thankful that you have done that. And the mission that you have overseen for 21 years officially as the executive director continues to grow. And what gets me is we have 3 Fisher homes here in the Dayton region. And I know you said San Antonio has like 8. Well, San Antonio is huge. You've got a huge base, like Wright Pat. But for a size city of Dayton, to have 3 Fisher Nightingale homes, I think is fantastic.
We are actually the only one. You know, you mentioned San Antonio. They have 3 at Lackland, 4 at Fort Sam Houston, 1 at the VA. But we're the only city, you know, that has 2 physical locations and has a total of 3 houses. I mean, there are some locations that have multiple houses, but they're all adjacent together, but the multiple locations with 3 houses.
Right. And for those unaware, share with us where these homes are.
So there's 2 homes over at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, supporting the Wright-Pat Medical Center, which is now the largest medical center in the Air Force. The Nightingale House, part of our name, the Nightingale House opened in May of 1990. We took a base and listed duplex and converted that over. Later in 1990, the Fishers came along, and the first Fisher House opened in 1991 in Bethesda, Maryland, at the Naval Medical Center. We got our first Fisher House at Wright Pat. We opened in May of 1994, and we operated that and the Nightingale House concurrently. And then we got our second Fisher House that opened in April of 2011 on Wright Pat. So actually on Valentine's Day in 2011, the Nightingale House had been returned to the government. It was demolished that day. So we got our second Fisher House there. Between the two houses, well, actually between our three houses, because we opened one at the Dayton VA on the historic campus down there in October of 2018. We have 37 suites, each with a private handicapped accessible bath, total handicapped accessibility in the houses. Guests come, they stay for free for however long the military member, the veteran, or the family member is receiving inpatient or outpatient care. And you know, this is their home. You and I were talking beforehand. This is not a hotel. These are homes. They can come down the hall at 3 in the morning in their bathrobe and pink fuzzy slippers and go in the kitchen and make themselves
Have a
something
little
to
midnight
eat.
snack.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you want. You want to feel at home.
Yeah.
Because that's a really traumatic time, and to have kind of that loving care for these families whose loved ones or members are serving our country. I mean, it means a lot that they're doing that, and it probably means a lot to the families to have that type of care when they could be very far away from home.
Well, there's two things. The National Foundation's, Fisher House Foundation's motto is, because a family's love is good medicine. If you talk to any medical professional, they'll tell you that having that family member there during the treatment, again, either inpatient or outpatient, actually helps the process move along.
Absolutely.
Much quicker. But beyond that, we want people to know, not only are we having this fundraiser, but we want to educate people on these homes, because if they need to come in and receive care, some of our veterans, for instance, would say, I'm not coming because I can't afford to put my family in a hotel, and they're not close by. They need to know that these homes are there. They stay for free for however long they need to stay. And we want them to come in, and we want the people to use these beautiful homes.
It's awesome. It's so nice to have that in Dayton, and let them feel the love and the appreciation that we have for our military serving our country. I do want to ask you about funding, though, because I think there's somewhat of people say, well, doesn't the military pay for your funding? I mean, why do you need to have fundraisers? Military, share with us exactly how you are funded, Chris.
Okay, so the Fisher House Foundation builds the house, they proffer it and then donate it to the government.
Okay.
Walk away, no longer responsible financially for it, policies, procedures, management, staffing, and those types of things. The houses then become owned, operated, and managed by the government. So the staff at the houses at Wright Pat and at the Dayton VA, very, very small staff, but they are government employees. Government employees cannot do fundraising. It's against the ethics regulations. And so our organization exists to raise the funds to support the houses, the managers, and the guests with whatever they need while they're with us. The managers will reach out to us and say, hey, we need this to support the guests, or we need that. Well, there's certain rules and laws that what the government can and cannot do. They own the house, so if a toilet packs up or a window breaks or air conditioning goes out, that's the government's home. They need to fix it. But they can't buy the food for the guests. They can't pay for taxi service for the guests. We pay for the internet and cable within the homes for the guests. So we do everything that the government cannot do. A lot of people, you're right, will say, well, they're owned by the government. They can't pay for it. The government can't pay for everything.
Right.
So,
and that's great that you have this fundraising, because I mean, you look at how many families you impact during the course of a year at these three houses, and I'm sure you probably have numbers for that. How many families are served each and every year?
well, in 2019, we supported over 1,200 families at our three houses. Then I'm pretty sure you and the viewers have heard of this thing called COVID.
Yeah.
That came along in March of 2020. And so we were plugging along and doing really well, and then it just bottomed out.
Yeah.
And that bottomed out because A lot of visits became televisits.
Right.
Elective surgeries were canceled, but we never closed during COVID. That's important for people to know because things come up, like somebody gets admitted to the ICU. It's not scheduled, it's a necessary thing, and so families continue to stay with us. So it did impact us in that our occupancy went down, but again, we never closed. So just to give you an idea, in 2021, we're still dealing with COVID and some of the after effects of it, and we supported 526 families.
That's awesome.
And this year, in the first 6 months, we've already supported about 315 families who have come in and stayed at our houses. So we're on our glide slope back up to the new normal, whatever the new normal may be. But you know, think about these families that come in. The average length of stay right now is about 4 to 5 days. 4 to 5 days in a hotel, that costs. Compound that with finding a place to eat, maybe some place to do their laundry. All that is there within our homes for them.
And like you say, to know for that person to be in the hospital, to know that their family's just on the base and very close to them has to make them feel so much better too.
On the base, but even more importantly, think about the Dayton VA.
Yeah.
Where's the closest hotel to the Dayton VA?
Exactly.
It's either like the Marriott over by UD or it's downtown Dayton.
Yeah.
There are no hotels on the west side of Dayton. There are no grocery stores on the west side of Dayton. It's a food desert. You know, so the families are, this house that we built on the campus down there is a $7 million, 13,500 square foot.
Absolutely beautiful.
12 bedrooms, 13 and a half baths. I mean, just an absolutely beautiful facility on a national historic landmark. You know, the VA is the third oldest in the country.
Yeah. So if you're feeling patriotic, we hope that August 13th is on your calendar because it's really a wonderful evening, the all-American evening, and it makes you feel good. Makes you feel good that you're supporting our nation, you're supporting our warfighters, you're supporting their families who have supported us. So I can't think of a better way to spend an evening. So let's spend just a little bit of time talking about August 13th and what we can expect at the Dayton Arcade and Dayton History Made here. That's pretty cool.
Okay, so the doors open at 5:45. Okay. You know, parking downtown can be a little, you know, we're trying to figure out where. Well, we have rented the Ribold Garage directly across the street, and there's a map on our website of where the parking is, so you don't have to pay to park there. We own that garage that evening. The attire is business casual or patriotic. It's not get formal and get dressed up. It's not like a military banquet where you get assigned seating. It's open seating. All-you-can-eat gourmet buffet done by Elite Catering and Events.
Oh, one of the best in town.
Yeah. They do a great job for us. Beer, wine, soda, water, and some spirits tastings, all included in the price of the ticket. We don't bring a pay-as-you-go bar, so that's already taken care of. There'll be a silent auction. There'll be a live auction. There'll be some games to be played, heads and tails, and that kind of thing.
It's
There's
always
a
one of
raffle.
the favorites. Yeah.
You know, so it's just a big party and a lot of fun. But more importantly, it supports us. Tickets are $100 a person, 35 of each is tax deductible. We started something new a couple of years ago. You know, if I go to a junior enlisted or junior officer out on the base and tell them, come to this event, it's $100 a person. Well, for them and their date or their spouse, you know, that's $200. And if, you know, they and their spouse are coming and they got kids at home, now they got to pay a babysitter. So, you know, it starts to add up and they go, I can't do this. So we actually started a program where people can purchase tickets to sponsor junior enlisted and junior officers and their
That's so cool.
One date, you know, their spouse or their date to come for $65 a ticket. So what it's actually costing us, we're not making any money on that. So it's just a big fun party. We usually have a costume contest with a theme, but how are you going to do a costume contest for history made here? But Orville Wright has promised that he'll swing by and see us.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, you have a very unique auction item that I think you should share with the audience.
Well, we have a check that's signed by Orville Wright. I think it's $1.31. Yeah. Made out to the Dunbar Company, and that is certified. You know, that's actually signed by him. So Orville may, you know, be up there with his check when that part of the auction takes place. But we're going to make that part of a concise history of flight, because we have a plane, a model airplane signed by Chuck Yeager, and then Larry Connor from here in Dayton, who just returned from the International Space Station.
From the depths of the seas to the highest of the galaxies.
From the Mariana Trench to the ISS in less than 12 months.
Yeah.
First person to do that. He has provided us a photograph of the crew, and he signed it, as well as a patch certified that it flew in space with him. So, you know, from the Wright brothers through Chuck Yeager,
that's so cool,
to you know, Larry Connor's feats, and we're going to have that in one package.
Yeah, and Doug Sorrell is the auctioneer. Doug always does such a fantastic
Yeah, he
job of
does.
making it fun, and just he can squeeze the money out of you.
Yeah,
and
he can.
Let's be real though, that's what we need. We need you to pony up, because this is one of the sole sources of your funding for the houses is this event.
This is our largest source of income for the year.
Yeah. So there's a lot riding on this, but we've done very well. We have such a caring community that steps up, and we can't thank you enough for that. We hope that you'll continue to do so. And what I like seeing, Chris, is that whenever I'm doing these, you know, of course I'll be emceeing and everything, but whenever I'm seeing more youth coming into this event, which I think we have to do that to continue to grow it and to keep it stable.
And that's why the youth have been coming
Absolutely.
in, because of the sponsorship of their tickets.
Absolutely.
And we want them to see what this is like,
Yeah.
and not just come down and have a good time,
Sure.
but we want them, as they grow in their career, whether it be in the military or after they get out, to know that things like this exist and be able to support them in their future.
Yeah, oh, and I'm sure that it means a lot to some of these airmen that come in and know that you've got a community that's got your back. We appreciate what you're doing, and if anything perish that thought would happen to your family, we would take care of them too in these homes in a time of need. So that
Well, you know, Dayton is the most military-friendly city in the entire U.S.
Yeah.
There's been surveys and everything, and people just love being here in Dayton, and I think that's just the base has been so accepted by all the communities here in the area,
Right.
and the leadership in those communities, and you know, they do things like you know, the tickets for the NCAA championships and those types of things.
Yeah.
This community is very supportive, but a lot of people don't know who we are, what we are. We're like a best kept secret.
Right. But look at people like you and your wife Deb, who stayed in this community after you got out of the military. Cassie Barlow, Colleen Wright. I mean, just all these wonderful base commanders who decided to stay right here. I'm assuming some of them, we hope, are going to be there with us August 13th.
They typically are.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting for RSVPs. I go out to my mail. The RSVPs get mailed to my house instead of the P.O. box on base, so I get them every day and can work them. Right. And every day I go out there with this hope that I'm going to find a bag of mail sitting next to my mailbox.
Well, you kind of look like Santa Claus.
Well, yeah. You should have seen what I did during COVID and during the lockdown.
I think a lot of people got a little hairy during the COVID, but we're so glad to have that behind us. And I'm really excited to hear about your speaker too, because you kind of have a keynote speaker during the All-American evening, and I think she has an All-American story.
She does, and Wendy Rogers is the president and CEO of the Beaver Creek Chamber. Mm-hmm. You know, I can get up there, but this is all you get. And I can get up there and tell you about the Fisher Houses, but Wendy's going to be our speaker. She has a great story about her, well, not a great story, but her son was injured, and she stayed in 3 different Fisher House locations, and she shares that story about what Fisher House has meant to her and her son during this recovery process.
I mean, you said the last time you saw her, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, because it's one of those emotional stories, and it's not, you want the emotion, you want people to realize that their money being spent is going to a good cause, but it's important to know that these people are taken care of during their time of need, regardless if it's in Dayton. I mean, you have Fisher Houses all over the country.
There are 92 Fisher Houses right now. There's 3 more under construction right now. And probably by the end of next year, we're on what we're calling the road to 100. By the end of next year, we may have 100 houses open.
That's incredible. Boy, I want to be a part of that celebration. And Chris, you've been a big part of that. I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Fisher Houses here in Dayton were kind of the standard bearer I think the Fisher family, the foundations, kind of saw what Dayton was doing, and they said, you know what, we need to continue that.
Well, the Nightingale House, like I said, being the first one
Right,
in the Department of Defense, but actually the way the Fisher Houses came about is Pauline Trost, whose husband was the top naval officer, chief of naval operations, reached out to Zach and Elizabeth Fisher, who had been great philanthropists in supporting the military in a number of incidents in the past, and said, will you build a Ronald McDonald type house in Bethesda at the Naval Medical Center? They said, because they had the money, they stepped up right away and said, we'll build 3, one for the Army, one for the Navy, one for the Air Force. We've got a construction firm, we have the architects, the engineers, we'll donate them to the government. Well, what started as a request for 1 and an offer of 3, now here we are working towards 100 houses.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think that's a good explanation of what Fisher Houses are. They're kind of like the Ronald McDonald House for the military. I think that's a fantastic.
And of course, everybody knows what a Ronald McDonald House is.
Yeah.
Not only do we have one here in the community, Rita Sear is the executive director, is a friend of mine, and they're in a campaign to build a much larger facility. But you can't go more than 5 or 10 miles without hitting another McDonald's restaurant who's always advertising for them. So.
Well, while we have this opportunity, Chris, kind of look down the road for us, if you would. What future needs do you have? You were mentioning before we went on air here that generators, in case there's power outages. I mean, you have hundreds of dollars of food for those families in these freezers and such. I'm sure you'd like to protect that investment.
Well, it's not just the food. I mean, it's for the comfort of the families that are there, you know, because some of them, again, are receiving outpatient treatment. So they may be going through chemo or radiation. They're already not feeling well, and then the air conditioning goes out or the heat goes out. So we've gotten some quotes, and to do the larger Fisher House 2 at Wright Pat and to do the Dayton VA is probably potentially going to run us maybe $500,000 to put these generators in, whole house generators in. So we're in the early stages of getting the quotes. We've gotten some of the quotes already, and then the board will take a look at it. But these have both been requested by the House manager, so we'll work them and see what we can do to support that.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, no doubt. But you know, you think people were going to ask the question, well, doesn't the base have backup generators that you could tap into? Why do we need to spend that much more money on a generator for the Fisher Houses?
Well, they have a generator, independent, in the medical center, you know, to make sure that the medical center goes down, but it's not a whole campus, you know, setup.
Yeah, it's just the absolute necessities that get the power. So that's something else to consider, that we, you know, any other future needs that you have down the road that you would like to mention, your wish list, if you will.
You know, it's when the House managers come to us and express their wants and needs. You know, we have, in the recent past, we bought a van for the Wright Pat Fisher Houses so they could transport the guests back and forth to the hospital and take care of business and so on. We have built storage buildings at both locations because the houses are beautiful, but there's no storage capacity in the houses really. So we've had storage buildings built for both those houses. We did anything they come to us that they need to support the guests, we take care of.
Yeah, even you were mentioning this to me earlier. Even the simplest thing about having a 6-passenger golf cart that you have to transport back and forth to the hospital and such, which is great during the summertime. But man, if you have to use transportation during the wintertime, you even stepped up to help there.
We did. The Dayton VA has a 6-person golf cart, as you mentioned. You know, the guests can, because we have a more elderly population down at the VA. You know, if the spouse needs, you know, is in the house and they want to go over to the medical center or come back from the medical center, it's in walking distance, the house. But if they have some issues and or the weather's bad, we paid for a special enclosure to be built and enclose it so that, you're right, we're in Dayton. We're not down in West Palm Beach where the weather's going to stay pretty much the same, or you know, Southern California. So, you know, it's going to rain, it's going to snow. We expect that. And so, you know, we paid for this enclosure. That was something the house manager came and said, would you guys consider doing it?
Heck yeah.
Got it done.
Heck yeah, that's what we're here for. So we're hoping that you'll support this mission, support this cause for the Fisher Nightingale houses here in Dayton and the families that are going to benefit from them. That warm hug that our community can give them. And Chris, we got just a couple more minutes here. Let's just wrap up again for ticket information. Share with us, where we can get our tickets.
So if you go to our website, www.fnhi, stands for Fisher Nightingale Houses Incorporated.org, there's some scrolling pictures at the top. Well, the first one that's going to pop up is a picture of the rotunda in the Dayton Arcade. And it says click here for more details. You can go in there and you can register online. You can purchase tickets to the junior folks online. You can purchase raffle tickets online. We have a $500 cash raffle. Or you can make a donation in lieu of attendance or in addition to attending the event. They go in, they do that. The system will automatically generate a receipt to me and a receipt to the donor. They can sign up. And because it's not assigned seating, even though the invitations have an RSVP date of 29 July, that's because I have to give a head count to the caterer, I still can bump that up. So we'll go beyond the date that it reflects there.
Okay. So they can't make it any easier for you to attend, but if you can't make it, you're going on vacation or, maybe you have family reunion to attend or something in the summer. It's a very active summer. I mean, people trying to, I think, catch up from some of those pandemic years where our activities were paused. Boy, this is a good one. I can't think of a more impactful, emotional evening than spending it with our All-American evening with the Fisher Nightingale houses and Chris Stanley and everybody. So how are you doing? Now, you've been doing this 28 years, Chris. You're still chugging away here, man. I think that's fantastic.
I love my job.
Yeah.
It's not like I get up in the morning and say, I have to go to work.
Right.
I get up in the morning and say, I get to go to work. I get to do this. And,
That's
and
awesome.
you'll mention people being out of town. What I tell people is, who knew the old Southwest Airlines motto would become the motto post-COVID? You're now free to travel about the country.
There you go. And that's fantastic. And we hope that you do have a great vacation. But we do hope that you'll also spend some time with us. That's coming up August 13th, once again, the All-American Evening. And history made here, which is cool, very, very cool. Chris, thanks for being with us today, and thank you for your mission. You're always so organized and so together. And man, the dude can press a shirt. I'm telling you, look at that shirt. or did Deb do that?
The cleaners. Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm looking forward to you seeing the event for us on that Saturday night, the 13th.
Super. Well, for Chris Stanley, I'm Dan Edwards. This has been Greater Dayton Live. Thanks for tuning in.